What's up, everybody? I've been kneeling at the altar of professional wrestling since Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood first formed a tag team. I'm the Reverend Doug Hager. My broadcast partner is a man with a PhD in wrestleology. We're going to call him the Professor Kevin Compton, my brother from another mother. Kevin, how the hell are you tonight, man?
I'm excited. This is show number one, so how could you not be excited?
Together we are the two bros, and this is our wrestling show. Welcome aboard, everybody. Let me just say this. The only negative thing I have to say about the pay per view start to finish, even the Dark Order stuff at the beginning in the pre show, the pre game, you know, the Dark Order still got some growing to do. They do. I mean, the big thing there, like you're saying, is the tease of who is the Exalted One. That's what they really have going for them. But SCU always delivers. But from top to bottom, this pay per view was great. The only complaint I would have is that Statlander and Nyla Rose looked a little clunky. There was some trouble with some spots, but overall, start to finish, it was great. They had some. Unfortunately, those two gals had some bad positioning on the show that was just a great show all the way through. But the only bad thing I can say is that they had a clunky match, in my opinion, anyway. But I don't. I mean that tag team match. Come on, how is that not? And I'm jumping the gun here. I know we'll talk about this later in the show, but how is that not on anybody's match of the year right now?
That was definitely, I mean, and on a card where there were a lot of great matches, that was, by far match of the night. You talk about, AEW letting things breathe. I thought to my estimation anyway, that was the best performance yet that we've got out of the Young Guns under the AEW banner. And I say that because if there's been some criticism, I know it's not exactly cool to criticize AEW, but if there's been some criticism of the AEW product, it's that the Young Bucks in particular have not had the same kind of performances that they'd had back in New Japan. And I think a lot of that is because on the TV show, oftentimes they haven't had that room to breathe that we have been talking about. They almost go instantly to the high spots and the flip and the fly, and I mean it's exciting, but a lot of that after a while you get desensitized to. I think it's their best match to date in AEW, in my opinion, because it was such a long match. It built to those big spots at the end, and prior to that, they worked a slower, more deliberate pace to let the match sort of organically form, and that's why I think that they've never been better under the AEW banner. And if I had one complaint about the match, and I know it was a perfectly executed match, and it's not the performance fault at all, but the fact that the heat is not always put on the right folks. So far, AEW has done a great job, and it's been a problem in WWE for more than a decade now of getting actual heat on the heels. I know we have a situation where we're teasing a elite implosion. But if anyone in those four is showing the heel tendencies, it's the guy who was the most over during the match. So the guy who should have been getting the heat was getting the cheers. The Bucks were getting booed, and even Omega got booed when he tried to stop, try to stop Hangman from doing something nefarious. So I'm not sure that was the reaction that they wanted backstage, but still, the reactions were what they were.
But the Bucks did kind of weave working heel, and I think to their credit, maybe that was kind of the point to a degree, because they would only really work heel on Hangman. They really, when they were in the ring with Kenny, either one of them, it was a more competitive spirit, and you would see that more heelish tendencies, and both Bucks working more heelishly when they were in the ring with Hangman.
And I wonder if that was the plan, or because they are so smart ring wise,
they just
gauging the reaction of that crowd and did it that way because of the crowd reaction, which kudos to them to doing it on the fly, because it worked fantastically.
It totally did. I mean, I definitely the match of the night. You know, I'm it's already a contender for my match of the year. I mean, we're in March, early March, but I mean, yeah. And another, I think, match of the night and a star maker is the Pac Orange Cassidy. You know, you finally get to see Orange Cassidy go. The people who had never seen him go, never like went out to YouTube and watched like bar wrestling or any of the other indies that he's been in, actually finally got to see the man go. And I think Pac was the perfect straight man for that. You know,
Again, that goes back to something we've already said multiple times about AEW, and that is the whole idea of letting something breathe and happen organically. They could have hot shotted that and had Orange Cassidy wrestle a singles contest months ago.
Oh, yeah.
But by saving it, teasing it, saving it for a pay-per-view, you've made him more special. The crowd ate it up. Obviously, that gimmick is gold, but it's also kind of gold, and I think less is more with Orange.
Absolutely.
Not just because that's his character essentially anyway, less is more, but like saving him and not having him run out there every week, even moving forward, I think is going to get more life out of that character. And I imagine they're going to be smart enough to do it that way.
And they need to really get on a King of Sloth style t-shirt. I need a King of Sloth style t-shirt. My wardrobe needs one of those.
That's a great idea.
I mean,
and then of course we got the big finish. I mean, AEW has had one champion up to this point, and we got the changing of the guard.
What was it, 100 and 180 some days? Jericho's been the youngest AEW champion until Mox comes along.
And I mean, kudos to Jericho, a veteran at his age with all the other irons he has in the fire, carrying sort of the flag as the most known name to the casual wrestling fan who isn't necessarily inclined to check AEW out, but might recognize Chris Jericho from the Attitude Era or WCW. I mean, you could not have asked for a better first champion than what he did during that reign as far as getting attention on the promotion.
Absolutely. I mean, he has definitely done his job well. I mean, he's done really great about putting all the younger talent over and just putting everybody over that, and just elevating the product as a whole. Like you said, he's bringing in those casual fans, that is the name recognition there. It brings them in. And then, he passes the torch over to Moxley. Now, you've got, WWE Dean Ambrose, running wild, the Death Rider in New Japan. You've got this man who is now United States champion in New Japan and the AEW world champion. There is a unification, or if not a unification, a partnership cooking. At least, this wrestling fan is hoping so. I want to see ROH, New Japan, and AEW have a solid working relationship. And, now they've put their title on a guy who has a title, in New Japan as well. That just seems positive to me. But I mean, Mox having the title is great. Now where does this go? Where does this leave? Where does this leave Jericho? Where does this leave? The Inner Circle. Are we going to get to see a War Games match with the Inner Circle at Blood and Guts now? Because that seems very, very War Games ish from everything I'm looking at.
It's definitely they're going for War Games without being able to use the trademark.
Right, just using a little jab at Vince there and calling the whole thing Blood and Guts.
MLW used War Games for a while and got themselves sued over it. So I know that they're saying this is war. It's obvious that what they're talking about. And Inner Circle would be a great obviously fit for one of those matches. It's just who do you pit them up against? But after that, I mean, as far as where Jericho goes, obviously he takes his sabbaticals because of all the other things he's done with that long of a reign. I wouldn't be surprised if, after the next pay-per-view, if he takes some time off. Obviously he's,
there is a Fozzy tour coming up, and I'm reading that, that's one of the reasons that he dropped the belt. Although at least this first part of the tour that's coming up, he would still be free on Wednesdays, but that's a lot of travel in the middle of a tour. So
sure he'll stay relevant with the appropriate video packages or what have you. He's too invested in AEW, unlike he was in WWE where he went, but.
Man, this is Chris Jericho. He's going to stay relevant, or he'll just reinvent.
I mean, he's definitely this AEW run just goes to show, even at this age in his career, when he's, you know, maybe a step older in the ring, but not hardly. Maybe not cosmetically the best he'd ever look, though he's working on that. I mean, the dude is still like, you know, on that short list of one of the best of his generation, and just
Absolutely.
yet again.
I want to thank everybody who stuck with us through this. Feel free to comment below, agree, disagree, light us up, let us know what you think. You know, comments below. If you're liking what we're doing here, you want to see more of it, you know, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and come back next week.